right. Hey, Bill. How are you?
Hey, Doug, how are you?
Doing fine. Thank you. Thank you for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a real honor.
So, you're an author. You've got a book out called The Girl with the Green Lipstick. You also do a show on NPR.
I do two shows on the local NPR affiliate, KSFR Radio in Santa Fe, New Mexico. They're political opinion shows. There's a half an hour format weekly show, and then an hour format monthly show.
Oh, well, no shortage of political talk
Fodder.
shows. Yeah.
No two ways about it, Doug. I have to say, right before, for about 8 weeks prior to the 2016 election, it was all Trump all the time.
Yeah, I'll bet it was. So, is this your first book that you've written?
It is. I've written lots of business articles, kind of 5,000 words long, and had them published in trade publications. My specialty as a consultant was risk management, and it was a hot topic when financial institutions were losing billions to rogue traders and market moves and everything else. But this is the first novel length, 100,000 word length book I've ever written. That's true.
Okay, well, according to your bio, it says it's based on a true story. So, was this something that happened to you personally?
Yes, it was.
Uh, well, that
Yeah,
certainly
I
would be,
actually married the Carrie character
yeah.
and was married to her for 7 months in 2018.
I was going to say that that would certainly be inspiration to write the book.
And the fact that I then found out that she had been in prison 4 times for felony convictions, had embezzled money from previous employers. And then as I started looking into it, I realized she'd embezzled about $250,000 from my retail operation.
Now, she had done this before to other men.
Well, she's done it before to other businesses. I don't know about other men. I'm assuming, given the way she lived, that she got money from men occasionally, men she dated. Um, but the first time she went to prison, she was managing a clothing boutique in the Washington, D.C. area. The second time she went to prison was for federal mail fraud. So she went to a federal prison. The third time, she was the office manager of a Lutheran church in a town here in New Mexico. And one of her primary responsibilities was to count the Sunday collections basket. And that got to be a little too tempting for her. And the pastor, kindly old pastor, found that he was having trouble managing his operation, and he started looking at the deposits and realizing that he was not getting what he was used to in terms of the collections baskets. And one thing led to another, and next thing you know, the Carrie character is convicted of 2 felonies and spent a year and a half in prison. She moved from the town that she was living in to Albuquerque and neglected to tell the court or her probation officer. And when they discovered that she'd moved without their permission, they sent her to prison for 60 days to remind her who makes the rules.
So the collection plate was a bit light at that church, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you've
Yeah.
been a pastor for
You kind of
20
know.
years, you
Yeah.
know your parishioners,
Right.
and if all of a sudden about 20% of your take isn't there
Yeah.
and nothing else has really changed much, then you're going to start, doing a little digging.
Well, did you employ her at your business? Is that how she was able to embezzle the money?
Yes. And she eventually, I have 5 retail stores at the time, and she managed one originally. And then she became my general manager, and that gave her access to all 5 bank accounts for each store. So I'm sorry, one bank account for each of the 5 stores.
Right. Okay. How did you meet her?
Online. I met her
Online.
through an online dating application.
Interesting. What do you think of online dating?
It's full of scammers. I
Yeah.
really don't think much of it.
Back in the old days when people actually had to meet each other in person, I think you got a better sense of who that person was. Not always, though. These kind of stories have happened in the past, but
The Carrie character, in reality, is a psychopath and with narcissist personality disorder, more than likely. And so narcissists can be charming and funny and sexy and
sure.
until they're not.
Until they're
And then
not.
they'll
Yeah.
cut you to watch you bleed.
How long ago was this?
It started in, well, so the backstory is I was married to the love of my life for 17 years, and she died of ovarian cancer in June of 2014. And I wore my wedding band for 16 months because I still felt married. And when I finally took it off, the first woman I met was the Carrie character through an online dating app. And so that would have been October of 2015.
So you said you were with her for 7 months. I'm glad that it was only for 7 months.
We were married for 7 months.
You were
That's right.
married for 7 months. Okay.
Yeah.
How long had you been dating before you got married?
Well, I mean, what happened was we started dating right there in October of 2015. We dated until about March of 2016. And then I hired her. And I thought, and this was on the advice of my lawyer. She said, look, my lawyer is a woman. She said, I advise you not to date somebody who works for you. There's just too much potential for bad behavior. So we did not date until December of 2017, but I was around her all the time and I just fell in love with her. And I said, look, I think we can do this okay. And I really want to marry you. And she said, okay. Then we got married, and her antisocial behavior toward me got very pronounced. She moved her lover into a house that I had purchased for she and I to live in. And so I avoided that house. And I thought, well, we'll get through this. Her father had died. She'd had some other trauma in her life. And the way I grew up, you just persevere until you get to the other side. And then you're laughing. You think, holy cow, that looked bad and felt bad at the time, but gosh, this is really worth it. And but I started seeing a counselor. And after the first session, she said, let me stop you. She said, you've got to get rid of this woman. She's going to destroy you. And I said, holy cow. And she said, no, seriously, call your lawyer tomorrow, which I did. And so the marriage lasted from April to October 2018.
Okay, let me back up a little bit here. You said that she moved some other guy into your home?
So what happened was she was living in Albuquerque. I live in Santa Fe. And I said, well, we've got to figure out how to get you moved to my house in Santa Fe. And she said, I'm not moving to Santa Fe. My son goes to UNM, which is in Albuquerque. 3 of your stores are in Albuquerque. I need to be here pretty frequently. I said, okay, I tell you what, I'll buy a house in Albuquerque that you and I can spend a couple of days a week in. We'll spend a couple of days a week in Santa Fe in my other house. And then, we'll have a couple of nights where we're just doing our own thing. I play tennis. She she's addicted to prescription pain meds. So she goes to NA meetings, Narcotics Anonymous meetings, one night a week. or so she says, who knows. At any rate, the upshot was shortly after we moved her into the house, she started pretty seriously seeing this guy and said to me he wants to live with me. So I started avoiding the house and he moved in.
This was before you got married?
No, just after.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Just for geography's sake, because I don't know the New Mexico that well. How far is it from Santa Fe to Albuquerque?
52 miles.
Oh, it's
so
not
you can
not that
actually
far.
make it in 45 minutes.
It's not that far. Okay.
Right.
All right.
It's an absolute straight shot on I-25.
You didn't suspect anything about this woman?
I did not, but bear in mind, at least when I fell in love with her, I just suspended disbelief. And, in retrospect, there probably were some signs which I just chose to ignore because I thought I loved her and I thought she loved me.
It really is the old saying about love is blind, yeah?
It really is. And, people say, gosh, Bill, you're an Ivy League educated MBA running a successful business. Didn't you suspect something? And I said, the highs and lows with this woman are the highest and the lowest I've ever experienced with any other human being. And so you live for the highs and you just ignore the lows. And until somebody slaps you senseless or silly, like this counselor did, and said, you need to get rid of this woman. She's going to destroy you emotionally, financially, in every which way she can. And I thought, holy cow, that's a wake-up call.
Yeah, she got you addicted to her.
Absolutely.
What happened. Yeah.
No two ways about it. And purposely.
And purposely.
And particularly when I was vulnerable.
Yeah.
I mean, here I was getting out of grieving my wife. And here's this pretty, funny, sexy, did I mention sexy, woman, and just filled my heart. And so I fell as hard as I could for this woman. And it took, and oh, by the way, even after I decided to get divorced, I still hadn't figured out that she'd been embezzling money from my operation. And so my attorney said, do you mind if I run a background check on this woman? Something just doesn't add up. And I said, no, that's fine. Please, whatever you need to do. And she called me and said, you need to come to my office. I have to show you something. And I walked into the conference room at this law firm, and on the conference room table were maybe 700 pages, not quite that much, 300 pages of legal documents relating to her crimes, not all of which are embezzlement. I mean, some are just simply, she still has a warrant outstanding for felony theft in Texas because she stole expensive clothing and got caught doing it.
So where is she now?
She lives in Colorado. I know exactly where she lives. The Albuquerque police are investigating her crimes. My attorney and her team put together a binder with all the evidence of her crimes, which is 568 pages long.
Why is she not in jail at this point?
Well, Barron, I don't know if you know about New Mexico, but Albuquerque is one of the most violent places in the country. Lots of drugs, lots of guns, just lots of all sorts of stuff. And so the desire to pursue white-collar crimes is not strong.
Okay.
When you've got, I've been told by the police there, look, these are felonies, no two ways about it, but they don't rise to the level of gun-in-the-face crimes. And I said, well, that's true, but she's a repeat offender. I mean, this is not like, oops, I made a mistake, sorry, didn't mean to buy that pair of designer jeans with the store credit card. I said, this is systematic with her. I mean, there were hundreds of purchases of a personal nature with the store cards bought through Amazon, and then she lied to my accountant about what the nature of the purchases were. So instead of saying, this is a designer handbag, she said, that's printer paper, or that's printer ink, or that's something else. And we finally forced her to produce the actual receipts from Amazon for the purchases. And out of approximately 500, about 490 were for personal items for her.
Wow. Bill, we do have to wrap this up. We are out of time. My guest is Bill Saubert, and the book is called The Girl with the Green Lipstick. The book is out now, I assume?
It is. It's the electronic version is available on the Kindle platform. I'm still trying to get the print-on-demand functionality sorted out. And they can preview 4 chapters on my website, billsaubert.com.
Okay, you want to spell that out?
Yep. It's Bill, B-I-L-L, Saubert, S-A-U-B as in boy, E-R-T.com.
Great. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show and sharing your story.